What's going on, everyone? It's Ben from YGO from Zero, back with another Retro Yu-Gi-Oh video, and back with another Chimeratech format video. Now, Chimeratech format is the format based around the January 2007 SJC Orlando event, and it used the September 2006 ban list, with a card pool going up to around starter deck, or structure deck, that is, 10, which was the one that introduced the gadgets. So there's a lot of fun stuff going around in this format now that Stein has officially been banned. Finally, we are free, and that leads to a lot of interesting decks running around. And, last video I showed off a sort of blast from the past, so the winning list from the original SJC Orlando event, and that was pretty fun. But there has been some cooking going on in this format in the meantime. And so I figured I'd show off the winning deck list of the latest retro event in this format, which was on Format Library some time ago. Now, it wasn't the biggest event because I think it was a single day event. So, it didn't get too many people, but Splevin was still able to win with this Dark World burn list here. And I think this list is just very, very cool. Regardless of how many people were in the event, I think this list is really cool, and it's just very aggressive, And I think that even though Stein is gone, so it loses a bit of its oomph from formats like Chaos Return or Stein format, I think this list is still very good because you still have things like Graceful Charity, the Dark World monster just getting out there for a ton of damage, and you have all these burn traps to, whittle down your opponent's life points. So before I go through the card by card, if you like this sort of thing and want to see more Chimeratech videos in the future, definitely subscribe to the channel, leave a like, comment down below, do all the YouTube stuff. It really helps out grow the channel. We're trying to reach 1,600 by the end of the month, and, it would be really nice if you helped us get there. But now let's dive into the card by card, because I think this list is very, very cool. So, of course, we're trying to get aggressive with the Dark World monsters while also having these burn cards to finish off the game once we've gotten our opponent low enough. And so, of course, we're playing triple Gold Warlord of Dark World and then one Silver Warlord of Dark World. So these are pitching off things like, Dark World Lightning and things like that. I think I might want to put in a Treeborn Frog in here as well, because something I noticed when I was playing this style of deck in the Chaos Return format, tournament that we had, is that, like, you do play a lot of tribute monsters, so it can be good to have a Treeborn Frog there just to be able to bring back. And sometimes you won't be setting all your stuff, or you'll be using your stuff when your opponent declares an attack. So it can be nice to have that there. But this deck isn't playing things like Zaborg in the main, it's playing in the side instead. So I think it's probably fine not using a Treeborn to pair with these. You can just get these off with things like Dark World Lightning and card destruction as well. In addition to these big bombs, we also got a Jinzo here to shut down your opponent's traps, get in for 2,400 damage. That's pretty good. We got triple Sidra here to just bring out, special summon this thing, and get really aggressive with it. We got double Cyber Phoenix here as well, because this pairs with our other machines like Jinzo and the Cyber Dragons, but also it gets us a draw, which is very nice too. We got a breaker to pop our opponent's back row. We got AD Warlord to banish their stuff. We got triple Hydrogeddon to just get even more aggressive, for making a big push. We attack over one of their monsters, bring another Hydrogeddon, get in for 16. That's pretty good. We got a Lily here as well. Pay 2,000, get in for 3,400 potentially, and that is very, very good in a burn deck like this. We've got a Morphing Jar here as well to pitch our Dark World monsters and also draw deeper into our deck. And lastly, for the monster, we got a Spirit Reaper here to wall up against our opponent and potentially get in some hand rips occasionally. For these spells, we got a Book of Moon. This can be very good at, stopping our opponent's aggressive pressure, but also can be good just setting down our monster in case we want to use a Dark World Lightning or a Knock. Now, you don't generally want to use this in conjunction with these cards, but it can come up, so I figured I'd mention it here. We got double Brain Con to get more aggressive. We're also playing a fair amount of tribute monsters, so we can potentially Brain Con our opponent's monster, then tribute over it after we've attacked him with it. We get card destruction to trigger our Dark World monsters and just dig deeper in our deck. We got the triple Dark World Lightning, as I mentioned before. These can be great at triggering the golds and silvers. We've got an Econ here to take control of our opponent's stuff, or to switch to defense if we need to. We got a Graceful here. These can trigger the Dark World as well as drawing deeper in the deck. Best card in the deck by far. We've got a Heavy Storm to clear our opponent's back row. We've got an MST to clear their back row as well. We've got a Knock to just get even more aggressive if our opponent's trying to turtle up. We've got a Premat to bring back our monsters. And for the trap line, we got a Call Han to bring back any one of our monsters. It can be especially good with Jinzo. We've got a Ceasefire, triple Dimension Wall, and a Cylinder to just deal a little bit extra burn damage against our opponent. We've got a Mirror Force here to deal with their monsters. We've got a Ring Destruction to be targeted removal, as well as a burn card. And lastly, we got TT here to blow up their monster that they bring out. For the side deck, we got a hodgepodge of options. We had double Decree for the Chain Burn deck, most likely. This can be very good at shutting that down. We've got double Threatening Roar for more OTK style decks like Chimeratech. We've got triple Dust Shoot here to, if we know we're going first, take a card out of their hand, which is very nice. We got double Zaborg and double Mobius in case we want to lean more heavily into the Monarch package. Mobius can be also good against more back row heavy decks. And we've got this double Legendary Jiu-Jitsu Master package here. I'm not quite sure why this is here. I'm trying to think like what deck in the format this would be good against. I guess against Monarchs it can be kind of nice, but it's kind of awkward because like Zaborg deals with it, and if they've got a Treeborn Frog, it just sort of gives them back a Monarch activation. So I guess against like Chimeratech Overdragon is nice, but like, I mean, I feel like the T-Roars are just better to go into for that than this. But you know, I don't know. This probably does have a purpose that I'm not quite ascertaining at this point. We got a Coffee here, just like the Trap Dash, which we can use to pitch a card from our opponent's hand. And also we got an Avarice in case we're bringing in more monsters or the games are going longer. For the Fusion deck here, you know, we're not really going into any of this because we're not playing things like Overload Fusion or Metamorphosis or anything like that. This is sort of just here to be a bluff. You know, our opponent might not know that we're on Chimeratech, you know, OTK or not if they see that we got a 15 card extra deck here. So I figured it was fine to just max this out, but we're never really going into this in this format. But that's going to do it for this deck list. Let's dive into some games and see how we actually do. Okay, we get some games against Ma, who I'm not sure has shown up on the channel yet, but they are actually another YouTuber, so I'll link to their channel down in the description down below. You know, they do great Edison stuff, and who knows, maybe after Chimeratech they'll do some of that. I don't know, but their Edison stuff already is great, so definitely check them out if you're interested in that. But we're going to go into the game, and they're going to go first. They're going to set 2, pass back to us, and that's pretty good for us because we do have this Dark World Lightning here. We also have Hydrogen if we want to go for that instead. We're going to go for a Graceful, hope to draw into a Dark World to pitch off that. And we do not, but we do draw into a Jinzo, which is pretty nice. So we're going to pitch the Jinzo. We're also going to pitch the card destruction. We already have a discard outlet in the form of Dark World Lightning, so we don't really need the card D right now. And also, you know, like, it's just a -1. We've got a good enough hand already, so I think it's fine just pitching that. Then we're just going to go for the very simple Hydrogeddon play here. We're just going to attack into the set. If it's a back row, that's kind of unfortunate, but we do have Jinzo next turn with this Call of the Haunted here. So I'm not too upset about that, and it is indeed the Mirror Force there. So I'm not too upset about that. We're just going to set a call and a cylinder, pass back to our opponent here. The reason I do this is if they go like heavy, you know, we can call back the Jinzo, but if they don't go heavy, we can just cylinder, deal some damage to them, and that's pretty good. So they are going to flip up that Takoichi there, draw a card off that, and they're going to think about exactly what to do here. They're going to go for an Ancient Gear Cannon. This is a bit scary because they might have, like, you know, Ancient Gear Drill, for instance, to go into the Future Fusion plays. You know, I showed off on the channel last video how this package can work, even though we didn't actually get to pull it off there, but it seems like our opponent will be pulling it off here. They got the God combo of Drill plus Ancient Gear plus Trinate to go into Future Fusion right away. We are going to call to just bring back this Jinzo here, so that way, you know, they can't get in for too much damage. We do have a little bit of a defensive option here, but if they've got Overload Fusion in hand, then we just lose the game. So they're going to pay 5, send that cannon, and then they're going to send, like, I assume every other machine monster in grave, or in their deck to the graveyard. And that's going to be a lot. And they do indeed have the Overload Fusion, so that's just going to be the end of the game. This thing is huge. And yeah, so they do send the Takoichi and the Future Fusion as well. So in general, when using the Overload Fusion, you do want to banish machines on your side of the field as well, because, you know, they won't stick around. But it doesn't matter here. There's more than enough to kill us here. There's 9,600 points of damage, so that'll be the end of the game. So yeah, cool to see them pull off the OTK there. I mean, that can happen. You know, I mentioned this in my video for that deck. You know, that is a fact of the format, but it's not necessarily, you know, an end-all be-all. There are ways to get around that, and we do bring in the Threatening Roars just for this situation here. So we draw into a Knock, which isn't really going to help us right now. Knock is a bit awkward to keep in the deck. I do like it because we did see the Koichi there, but if we banish all the Koichis, then they bring them out off Dim Fuse, so that's a bit awkward. So we're just going to set this MST pass back to them. This is good for if they fire Future Fusion, we want to get rid of that with the MST there. They're just going to set 1 pass back to us. I feel pretty good about this. You may wonder why I didn't summon a monster last turn, but I don't want to turn on, like, Cyber Dragon for them, so that's why I didn't do that. We just bring out this Cyber Phoenix here, go for the Knock, banish their set monster. We don't play any Takoichis, so none of those go away for us, but we are able to get in for 1,200 here and pass back to them. So they are going to bring out a UFO Turtle. That's fine by us. We'll pay the 2, or not we'll pay 2, but we'll take 2 there. And we draw into a Hydrogen, which is pretty good. We draw Warrior Lady as well, so that's pretty neat as well. And we actually do have a line to deal a fair amount of damage here. So I mapped it out, and we don't quite have lethal here, but we do have a really good play. We can bring back that Cyber Phoenix with the pre-map, go for Brain Con here as well on the Turtle, and get in for a ton of damage with this Lily here. I feel like this is worth doing, because if it all connects, it puts them down to 800, which cuts them off of Brain Con, cuts them off of Dimension Fusion. So it cuts them off a lot of good things. Oh, pre-mat as well. So I feel like this is fine to do. Unfortunately, though, they are playing Karibo, so they discard the Karibo and stop the Lily tax. We just take 2k for nothing, basically. And that's very unfortunate, because now they do still have that 2,000 life points for the Dimension Fusion if they do want to go for that, and that would be pretty disastrous for us here. So they're just going to switch that turtle defense, set one, pass back to us. We go for an MSC on the back row just to stop like threatening roar with Boku. We do see the Karibos, so they might be playing that. We really do need to clear that UFO turtle sooner rather than later. So we draw Dark World Lightning, which is okay. We're just going to bring out this Warrior Lady attack into the turtle, banish both, attack in with the Cyber Phoenix there. And I think, it is a bit risky, but I think I do have to just try and end the game as soon as possible because they do have a way to get into Future Fusion plus Overload Fusion. I don't want to turn that on for them. So we attack in with the Lily, pay the 2,000, and hope this goes through, and it will indeed go through. Whew! Bit scary to see that Karibo, but, it did work out there, but I think we had to go for it, right? I mean, we could have gotten punished if they did have the other Karibo, but like at a certain point, you've got to get really aggressive in this format because there are just instant win combos that can win the game for our opponents. So we don't want them to get into any of that. And so we're just going to go into this game here. And this is a pretty good opener. We got Card D plus Silva. We also have Ring Heavy. So we got a lot of good options here. They're just going to bring out a Cyber Phoenix, set 2, pass back to us. And unfortunately, they have Dust Shoot. So yeah, they are able to take the Silva. We wanted that. But unfortunately, that will get shuffled back. And I think what I actually want to do here is I go for heavy on the remaining back row. It's a jar, so they baited us there a bit. And we just bring out the Cyber Phoenix, attack into that Cyber Phoenix, draw a card. And we're trying to draw into ways to, stop what they're doing here. And also clear their board in case they, like, bring out a tribute monster or something. Like a Jinzo would be really bad for us with these T-Roar and the Ring. So I go for that. And now we got a pretty good setup for next turn. We got this Threatening Roar plus Ring there. We'll set those, pass back to our opponent. And they go for a Graceful, drawing 3, pitching 2. That's really rough for us because they can draw into potentially Overload Fusion or something like that. They do pitch a side rest, so they do have Overload Fusion online. They're going to bring out the Cyber Phoenix, attack in for 12. We will just take the 12. No need to use the Threatening Roar just yet. And Ring can't target Phoenix anyway. So, yeah, we draw Premat, which is pretty good. We're just going to decide to set that Premat, go for Card D here, pitch the gold. So that way we get to bring out the gold. And potentially pre-map back like a Phoenix as well if we want to. And that's very good that we did that because they did have the Overload Fusion there, plus a True Nade. So I'm very glad that we were able to cut off that line of attack there. We are going to think about this and just go for the pre-mat here. We got 3 cards on field. So if they like top deck heavy or like, True Nade or something, we just want to be able to use this for as much value as possible. So we are able to get back that Cyber Phoenix there. And now we can attack in with the gold. If they do have Mirror Force here, that's unfortunate for us. We do have Cyber Dragon to bring out next turn, potentially. They've got Ring instead, though, so that drops us down by 23. And that's a bit of a scary spot to be in. We're at 3,700, which is a bit worrying. We are able to attack in, and we both draw a card here now. And I feel pretty good about next turn. We have Sidra plus Lily to get in for a ton of damage here. And this might be the end of the game if they just normal summon a monster. Because we have Ring as well. We're going to attack in with the turtle there. And we do just Ring the turtle because I want to have enough life points to do a Lily attack and also, Ring for game. So I do just go for the turtle there, dropping them down to 4,300. And I feel like we're in a very, very good spot there. They set 1, pass back to us. We draw Dark World Lightning as well, which is pretty nice. We could go for the Lightning. I think we actually do go for the Lightning here on that back row. No, we don't. Okay. Yeah, I think that's fine. Because we want to save the Cyber Dragon in case they do have a way to clear the Lily. We have this Threatening Roar here, so we're able to protect our Lily next turn. They do play Ancient Gear Drill, or not Ancient Gear Drill, Ancient Gear Cannon, which will kill us here. But I'm trying to think like how many copies they would play in this deck, and I feel like that's maybe you play 2, maybe you play 3 since you're going for the drill. So it's not the most likely thing in the world they draw into a cannon and just kill us here. But if this does connect, and it does connect, they're down to 900 life points. So it's a very, very risky spot for them to be in. Maybe I should have just attacked him with 1 Lily attack. I don't know. I think this is fine. Because, they have to have like cannon exactly to kill us here. Because we do have T-Roar to stop any aggressive pressure. And then we can bring out Cider next turn and get in for damage there too. So maybe it was a bit too greedy for me. But I did just want to get aggressive here. I figured if they've got cannon, they got cannon. And unfortunately, they do have the cannon there. So they had they did have a drill in hand as well, so that's kind of funny. But yeah, they also had a swords here. So even if we had, yeah, I'm not really sure there was anything we really could have done here. If we just attacked him for 4, they'd be at 33. I guess they had Karibo here as well, so they could have blocked that off in future turns. So yeah, either way there, we did lose this game here. I think we were. I mean, if I had played this differently, maybe we would have been in a better spot. But I do think that ultimately, like, we were in not a bad position here. But yeah, the cannon does kill. So that's just going to be the end of that game, the end of that match. So we got a bit too aggressive here. Maybe I need to balance that out a little bit more. But, you know, we enjoyed this game so much that we wanted to play another. So we dove into another match with the same decks. And I think it's actually pretty good for testing out this Dark World Burn deck, because honestly, you'll probably be facing a fair amount of Machine OTK decks in the future. So let's dive into the next game and see how we do against that. Okay, we got our second game here against Ma, and we're diving in. And we're doing the rock, paper, scissors. We do win the rock, paper, scissors this time, so that's very nice. So we are able to go first here. And yeah, this is a pretty good hand, all things considered. We got Dark World Lightning plus Silva. Card destruction as well if we want to use it. But I think it's fine just setting the TT here, passing back to our opponent. No need to get super aggressive this turn. We can get aggressive next turn. They're going to set one pass back to us, though. So, you know, we're both, you know, sort of playing the long game here. We're going to go for Dark World Lightning on the back row. It's just Jar, so, you know, we won't be able to pitch the Silva there. And we're just going to set this Ceasefire pass back to our opponent. We could have set 4, activate a card D, and brought out the Silva there. I don't really think it was worth doing. I mean, we would have gotten in for 23, so that's fine. But, like, you know, I think it's fine just keeping the TT and the Ceasefire on field. If they go heavy, they go heavy. That's just unfortunate for us. But, you know, if they had heavy here either way, you know, we're losing 4 there. So I don't want to necessarily play into that. But they're going to pitch a Sidra and a Dim Fuse. They're going to go for MST on our new back row. It's the Ceasefire there. They're going to bring out an Ancient Gear Soldier. And we could potentially TT that just to prevent a drill play from going on. But I figured, like, if they went for Graceful, they might have an Overload Fusion here. And they do have a Sidra in Grave already. So, I mean, then again, like, there's only a 1600 attack Chimeratech, which isn't that bad. But if they do have, like, Future Fusion as well, and there's testing for something like TT, then that's bad for us. So, I'm okay letting them get this. Yeah, maybe that was a mistake on my part. But, you know, they have to have, like, True Nade exactly to actually, you know, go into that this turn. But it looks like they do not. They're just going to attack in for 1300 and then activate the Swords, pass back to us. The Swords does complicate things a little bit here. We're going to go for Hydro here, and then we're actually going to set some cards here because now we can go for the card D and hopefully find a way to clear that Swords. They didn't need to have the Overload Fusion here, so I am ultimately okay. Well, maybe I should have just TT'd the Soldier because then they wouldn't have been able to activate Drill, and then they wouldn't have been able to have enough material engraved for the... Well, they could have gone Chimeratech, and then, you know, just Dimension Fusion back the Ghost Soldier and the Dragon. So, yeah, I think it was better to just wait for the, wait for a bigger play for the TT there. But they are able to then go for Future Fusion here, which is a bit awkward for us because now if they draw another Overload Fusion, we're in a really bad spot. We do still have this, the TT. So we can use the TT there later. We got Book, we got Econ. So, you know, we do have ways to protect ourselves a little bit here. But it is a bit awkward. They bring out this Cyber Phoenix as well, and they're going to attack into the Silva to deprive us of getting a Summon off Hydrogeddon. But this also does allow them to draw one card deeper, so they're going for a bigger play. They're going to go for an Ancient Gear Drill here in main 2, and they're going to ultimately set the True Nade. So that is a bit scary for us, because now if they do have Overload Fusion, they can go for a major play here next turn. So we set this DD Warrior Lady, switch everything to defense, pass back to them. Now, if they do go Chimeratech, we can't necessarily lose the game from this position unless they have a way to clear our entire board. And they have gone through double Dimension Fusion. So I feel like these sorts of decks don't generally play 3-Dimension Fusion because it's, you know, sort of overloading on that card. But they could. That is something we have to be a bit afraid of, but I'm going to take the bet that they do not play 3-Dimension Fusion. So if they do, then we just lose the game, but, you know, nothing we can really do about that either way. They go for a True Nade plus a Comfy here, ripping out that TT, so that's a bit annoying for us because now we can't pop the board once they get out like a Chimeratech, and they will do Swords again here to flip up that DD Warrior Lady here. We just set the Econ, set the Book, and pass back to our opponent. No real need to commit more than that. If they bring out Chimeratech, they can beat over all our monsters anyway, so the Lily does not really do much there. They are going to activate a Premature Burial here, and they're going to bring back the Jinzo, and that's a bit awkward for us, but we don't have any traps here, so it ultimately is okay. They're going to bring out this Soldier here as well, attack over the Geddon. They're going to attempt to attack into the Warrior Lady, and we're going to think about this because we could just let that go through, but I don't necessarily want to you know, lose the Warrior Lady, because if they do Overload Fusion, then we want a way to clear their Chimeratech, and that is a way to do it. Maybe I should just let that go through. And just had it be there. If they activate Dim Fuse, then they're kind of in the same spot they were before. So I don't really care about them Dim Fusing. I just care about them Overload Fusing here. I think it's ultimately still okay to do this. And if I do draw a way to clear the Premat or the Swords, then that's pretty good. But unfortunately, I do not draw that. I just set the Injection Fairy Lily and the Dark World Lightning as a bluff there. And now I pass back to them. and they are going to activate True Nade. That's a bit scary for us, but we're going to book down the Jinzo. So, why do I book down the Jinzo? Okay, so they don't get back the pre-mat. That's why I booked down the Jinzo. Yeah, so at least they can't, get back pre-mat here and go for more things. They activate swords. They flip up the Jinzo, just attack into the Silva here. That's fine. And we draw into BrainCon, which is not going to do anything for us here. We set one BrainCon because we got another BrainCon in hand, so I think it's fine doing that. They're going to eat into the Lily there as well, pass back to us, and they've only got 7 cards left in deck, so they're going to be able to draw into an Overload Fusion sometime soon. We set Dimension Maul because Dimension Maul is a potential way for us to get back into this game here, because when they Overload Fuse, then they got to bring out Chimeratech and everything on their board gets popped. So, if they don't have Dimension Fusion as well to bring back the Jinzo, then we're in a fine spot. But we'll take 1,300 from this soldier here, which is a bit awkward, but we don't really care about our own life points as much, especially with Lily on, so I feel fine about that. We draw into Cyber Phoenix here, and we're going to go for Dark World Lightning on that back row. Hopefully that goes through, and they will let that go through. Okay, so we will pitch a BrainCon here because we don't have the BrainCon on our field, so that's something. We're just going to bring out this Cyber Phoenix and attack, pass back to them. I figure, if they do go for a play with Chimeratech, as long as they don't have Dimension Fusion, we have Dimensional Wall to finish them off with that. So I feel it's fine. Bring out the Chimeratech and attack. They're going to go for Drill, pitch this Future Fusion, and set a heavy. And that's a bit awkward for us because now they can clear away our cards, which is kind of rough. We draw a Jinzo here, which is something. So what we're ultimately going to do is we're going to go for the BrainCon here, take control of the Soldier, and then we're going to switch the Soldier to attack him with that, and then switch our Cyber Phoenix to defense, because what we want to do here is we want to make ourselves, resilient against a Chimeratech play, and also we're going to lose the BrainCon either way, so might as well take one of their cards doing it. So we set the Jinzo there, pass back to them, they go for heavy on our back row, they go for Overload Fusion here, so they're able to bring out a big Chimeratech, but, they aren't necessarily able to win the game from this spot, because, they can only attack up to the number of monsters we control, right? They can't attack directly after attacking the monsters. So we do indeed survive another turn here, and we top deck probably the best card we could have top decked. We set this Reaper, pass back to them, and now our win con is basically deck out, If we draw into Ring, which I believe we have not used yet, then we could potentially Ring for a tie if we need to. But yeah, it's we just kind of hope that the Reaper is enough, and we just pray that it is. We set this Cyber Phoenix as well. No real need to put it in hand, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's fine. Like, they're going to attack over it, but like, what else do we do here? They're going to set one pass back to us. We draw heavy here, so we can at least set that as a bluff, pass back to them, and just hope that they can't kill us this turn. Because if they don't kill us this turn, then I feel like we're going to win the game, because next turn they will not be able to win. They're going to go for the Magician of Faith here, grabbing back the MST. They have no spells engraved that actually target, which is potentially another reason why this deck should play, an Econ or a Book. Well, Book doesn't do anything, but like Econ at least can at least clear a Reaper. It's Drillroid did the same thing, which is what the original deck list that Paul Lynn won with, and I showed off in my last video had. So Drillroid could also do it, but as is, it looks like Ma's deck does not have a way to deal with that Reaper. So they're going to MST the back row in case, set one pass back to us. And they do have the Ring here, so they are able to ring the Chimeratech, and that will be a draw. So we get a draw for game one. Very intense game. I mean, that was wild. That was, even though, Chimeratech OTK is in the format, like, it can lead to games like that. And that was kind of wild. Very cool stuff. And I do think that, like, seeing that game is potentially something that can cause people to change the deck in the future. It's always a growing process with these decks. You always want to test things out, see what works, what doesn't. And I think after that, I assume that Ma will be adding like Econs or Shrinks or something that can target into the deck as well for like a potential Reaper or potentially a Drillroid as well in the deck. Or maybe playing more Dimension Fusion, although that wouldn't really make a difference there. But we're going to go for this Graceful Charity, pitch gold and a Silva, bring back that gold and Silva, and get really aggressive here. We are going to then MST the back row. We could have MST'd before the Graceful, but I didn't know I was going to draw into another Dark World, so I feel like it was fine holding it, especially because like we've got Dark World Lightning in hand as well. But we go for the MST there on the back row, and now we bring out this Hydrogeddon. And I mean, this should be the end of the game because, if they bring out any other monster, this drops them down below 2,000 life points. So we got Ceasefire. And we also have Ring on one of our own monsters, but we don't necessarily want to shotgun the Ring in case they've got a Book. So I feel like it's fine just waiting for them to commit a monster to board and see what they do. Yeah, and they do indeed commit a monster to board. We're going to cease fire on that summon, and that's just going to be the end of the game. So not really much they could have done there. But you know, that's how crazy this deck can be as well. I mean, that was basically an OTK from us, and it shows that some decks in this format go very, very fast paced, but not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, I think it's a very, very interesting game there. So I think we've had some good and interesting games overall. But yeah, we just bring out this DD Warrior Lady, banish the Cyber Phoenix here. They do play Dimension Fusion, true. But if they do Dimension Fusion, we get back our Warrior Lady, so that's pretty good for us. We set a Dimension Wall here, pass back to our opponent, and they're going to set one pass back to us. And we are going to draw into Book of Moon. That doesn't really help us here. We're just going to pass back to them. You know, it's the passing game. You know, we're both passing back and forth a bit here. They're going to tribute for a Jinzo, and Jinzo does stop the Dimension Wall, which is a bit annoying for us. We'll take 2,400 there. They're going to pass back to us. We draw a Reaper, so that does wall things up a bit. You know, if they can't clear this like last game, then we're in a pretty good spot. They're going to attack into the Reaper here. I assume they've got something on the side to deal with things like that, though. So, yeah, we're just going to tribute over that Reaper for a Jinzo of our own. Could we do with this call to bring back our own Jinzo? So I feel like that's pretty good. We set this book, pass back to them, and they are not book, but call, pass back to them. They're going to go for the UFO turtle here. I actually do make a bit of a misplay here. I think I should have done Dimension Wall on this. I've been saving Dimension Wall because I feel like it's a good way to, you know, protect against a potential Chimeratech OTK later on in the game. But I don't realize that if I do draw into like Graceful Charity, or I draw into Dark World Lightning to pop that back row there, then I will be able to get a ton of damage on board, especially with Call and the Jinzo. So I think I should have probably just gone for Dimension Wall here, dealing 1,400, and you'll see why. You'll see the exact line that I take next turn. It's a bit of a spoiler to what I draw here, but I do draw the Dark World Lightning. So the move here is I go for Call on the Jinzo first. So this shuts down their potential back row. And then I go for Book on the Turtle, because now I can Dark World Lightning the Turtle, pop that, prevent them from getting out a Cyber Phoenix, and now I can summon out this Hydreigon as well, and we'll be able to get in for 16, plus 24, plus 23, and that will actually be enough to drop them down to 1,400 life points exactly. So if I'd gone for Dimension Wall there, then that would have actually been lethal. So I should have been thinking like, okay, well, if I do draw Dark World Lightning, this is lethal with a Dimension Wall push there, and Dimension Wall is kind of dead as long as Jinzo's on board, so it doesn't really protect us against Chimeratech OTK here. So I should have had the foresight to think about that. I did not. And that did wind up hurting me here. It might cost us the game even. We'll have to see exactly if we do lose the game to that, but it is something good to keep in mind. Our opponent's going to activate swords, pass back to us, and now this is a pretty bad spot for us to be in. We're going to switch everything to defense in case they do set up the Chimeratech OTK. We don't want to just lose the game on the spot, and Dimension Wall is still a good way to protect ourselves there. They do have this cannon, so if they do cannon, manage to clear our board through non-Chimeratech means, then we won't be able to activate Dimension Wall, which is unfortunate, but you know, that sort of is what it is. They go for a Future Fusion off that drill, pass back to us. We draw Cyber Dragon here. And we're actually going to tribute set over the Jinzo for the Cyber Dragon because, you know, I want to turn on my traps in case they do a big play. I want to have TT live. I want to have Dimension Wall potentially live. So I think it's good just to set that. Our opponent's going to go for the cannon here, dealing 500 to us, going for a Future Fusion here, sending a bunch of machines from their deck to the graveyard. And they're going to go for True Nade here as well, sending everything back. We accidentally revealed that we've got Dimension Wall there. That's a bit unfortunate because, you know, maybe they'll play around it later. That's just how it goes sometimes. We do get callback, which is nice, though, because we did tribute set over the Jinzo there. And they're going to go for Overload Fusion here, bringing out a big Chimeratech here, bringing out one that has, let's see, that is 5, I believe. So that's 4,000 attack on that Chimeratech there. So pretty big. And this thing will be able to attack over our entire board here, which is a bit unfortunate, but we're not dead yet. So that is the important thing, you know, that's what matters. And our opponent is going to activate his swords, pass back to us. We draw Dark World Lightning, which is pretty good. We're just going to set the house, you know, might as well. Because, you know, if they do go like Heavy Storm or something here, we want to be able to call back the Jinzo. We are still taking a fair amount of damage off of that, but like we're not dead here. If they'd banish everything, then we would be dead off that. But because they didn't banish everything, we are in an okay spot there. They're just going to tribute set over the Chimeratech for a Cyber Dragon, and then go into a Reaper on the Nightmare. Just start ripping our hand apart here if they can. And because of that, we're just going to go for TT. We do not want them to rip apart our hand here, and they're going to set one pass back to us. So I think that's fine. You know, this does play around the Dimension Wall, which they didn't know about. So, you know, again, you know, maybe they wouldn't have done that if they had not known about it and they would have just attacked and lost the game. But we did indeed misclick there, and that can happen on DB there. But we're still in a pretty decent spot. We're going to pitch the gold from hand to field and pop the TT there. We bring it out in defense. I think this was a misplay. I think I should have brought it out in attack because we do have this threatening roar here to stop their attacks from coming through. So I think it's fine leaving an attack there because they do go for like true nade or heavy or something. We're using the threatening roar either way. So, but yeah, we go for the call as well. I flip up both of them at the same time just because I'm like, okay, you know, I'm activating both these. It should be clear. But technically, the order in which I flip them up is not the right chain order to do. What I should have done is I should have activated call first, then activated T-Roar, because if I had actually chained them with threatening roar chain link 2 and call chain link 3, then what would have happened is Jinja would have come back, negated the threatening roar, and then my opponent would have been able to attack here. So, you know, food for thought. But that econ should wrap things up here either way. We're going to attack over the Cyber Dragon here, and they just attack in for 24. And they do have Karibo for that, but econ for next turn should be enough to just win the game. If they do have, like, anything here, we can take control of it. We can switch to defense. So pretty good here. And yeah, it looks like that's going to be the end of the game. They just had Future Feud and Ancient Gear Drill. So that's going to do it for this one. And they do say, got to get econs to my deck ASAP. And I think that is, you know, part of the value of playing these games. You learn what you need in the deck. And I think, especially if you're playing the drill package, like, I think in my version of Machine OTK, I probably won't play the drill package, even though it can be good at getting Future Fusion on the field. I feel like it is just a little bit too bricky. But I do think if you are playing the drill package, you do want to be playing things like shrinks, econs, books, things that you can actually bring out if you need to get defensive. I think that's very, very important to do. And the original list that won the event did not have that, and I really felt the absence of that in my video I did on that original list. But still, very, very cool deck. It's a deck that you'll probably be seeing in some form or another in this format, and I think that these games show that Dark World Burn can also put up a bit of a, you know, fight against it. You know, we managed to win the second match, and also, you know, we did pretty well in the first match too. We just made a bit of an error in judgment, I think, that final game, but we might have been losing that final game there either way. Either way, I think it was like the fact that it felt close is pretty good to see for this deck. I think this deck is going to be a pretty good pick in this format overall. I mean, we were facing off against one of the most aggressive decks in the format, and we were still able to out-aggro them some games. So I think this deck is pretty cool, and I encourage people to play it, whether you like Dark Worlds or you just want a fast-paced deck in the format. I think this deck is the one for you. And of course, there are different innovations that you can add to it, you know. None of these decks are set in stone. This format is still being very much explored, and I think that's part of the appeal of Chimeratech format, in that there's so much out there that you can discover and play and innovate on. And, you know, if that appeals to you, definitely head on over to the YGO from Zero Discord server, linked in the description down below, and play some games in it. You know, we're exploring this format, seeing what we can do, and look forward to more coverage on the format as well on my channel in the coming weeks. That's going to do it for this video, though. I hope that you enjoyed as always. As always, big shout outs to my patrons, Rinswin, Brent Donker, Porkchop Coon, Tyler Compton, GMYFS, and Dumpstruck. It really means a lot that you all support me this way and encourage me to make more videos like this in the future. I hope that you all enjoyed as always. And until next time, I've been Ben from YGO from Zero. I'm signing off.